I cannot tell my story without going a long way back. Herman Hesse, Demian.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, I think we're live.
There we go. Hail, listener, and welcome to the Night Captains, a Sun Eater podcast, where we are your titular Night Captains. I am Doombot, this is Orion, and here to help shepherd you through space and time into the world of Sun Eater.
How's it going, Doom? It's been half a month since we recorded episode 1. I think it turned out pretty good.
I do too. I'm doing well. I'm a little tired this morning, but here we are. How about you? How you doing?
Doing good. It's finally, weather's changing. I finally have hot tea now, which I'm very excited about. No more of that iced bullshit.
Nice. I never
But
drink
yeah,
ice when it's warm out.
yeah, no, I'm weird with temperature fluctuations, but it's finally warm enough for hot tea, and I'm very excited. I wanted to do a little house stuff from episode 1 that I wanted to clarify. Just some, not rules, I should say, but more like updates since the last time we recorded. Big update number 1 is that I looked into it, and Kieran Yanner is no longer the head art director at Wizards of the Coast, but he still does work
Oh.
with them doing freelance stuff. I know, it came as a shock to me too. I'm like, oh my gosh, I lied to our constituents. It still came as a shock to me, but he's still working with Wizards of the Coast doing freelance stuff, still producing art for them, so it wasn't a complete lie. So there is that. And then the biggest thing I think has happened to the community since the last time we recorded is that this beautiful book, which was formerly the Diamond Edition of Empire of Silence, is now there was some stakes thrown into the road, and so Christopher decided to kind of flip the switch, get it all started once again. The edition is going to be called the High Matter Edition, uh, to tie up with High Matter Books, which is his new website, his new program, the kind of the umbrella that all of the books are going to fall
Mhm.
under. And people who own the Diamond Edition are going to be getting not a slipcase. It is still pretty early. We're going to be getting a dust jacket to match the new High Matter Edition, so all of your books are going to match on your shelf. So pretty much that is the biggest piece of news. Newses. Biggest pieces of news. Oh no, this is going to be a good one. We're both in fine form today.
You can see me. I'm right here.
just barely holding on. Mm. But today we are going to be um sort of laying the foundation for the series itself. People who might be coming into Sun Eater who have no idea what it's about are probably, they don't know what the series is or what it's about or how far the history goes back. And I figured that it would be best just to give kind of like an elevator pitch almost of this series because Sun Eater is a series that deals with a lot of history and the history of Sun Eater itself, the in-world history, is very complex and very detailed. Christopher certainly has done a lot of his research, and I feel like it behooves us to get the future listener, the future reader, up to speed with the past so we can catch up to Hadrian in the present and the future, so to speak. Um, but yeah, right here, we're going to start. So, Sun Eater starts, the history, the future of Sun Eater starts now. Like, this is the 0 point. This is where geologic time starts for Sun Eater, because Sun Eater's future happens 20,000 years that away. So, our future starts now. 20,000 years may not seem like it seems like a long time for most people. In geologic time, it's like a flash in the pan. But, a lot can happen in 20,000 years. civilizations rise and fall. I mean, hell, 20,000 years ago, the North Sea was like grassland, in terms of like our geologic time. So a lot can happen in 20,000 years. And 20,000 years ago, in Hadrian's time, was an age that he likes to refer to as the Golden Age. And the Golden Age of Earth uh, is shrouded in a lot of mystery. And Hadrian seems to think that all of these historical figures that he reads about, that he, quotes back at us throughout the series, Genghis Khan and Winston Churchill and Alexander the Great, they all seem to exist at the same time period and they were all like breaking bread together, which is kind of a silly misconception. But it makes sense because they've lost a lot of their history, their personal past. But that's where he is on the historical front. All of these historical people are, kind of commingling when in reality there was, a great deal of space in between these people living and dying. Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, Winston Churchill and Genghis Khan being around at the same time makes me laugh.
It's just like, what
Smoking a
would have happened
cigar
if you
like,
just
"What are we supposed to do about the Mongol horde?"
oh no, that's a terrible thought.
Blitz of London becomes a completely different scenario.
Oh boy, yeah, no, you're not kidding.
Well, yeah, so 20,000 years, he's thinking all these people are, you know, around at the same time, and mankind's flying through space and hasn't spread far from Earth, but still relies on normal thrust-powered vessels. Nothing like you see how they travel the vast distances of the flying through the dark between the stars. But I think it's really funny that Hadrian assumes that they're 20,000 years ago they're spacefaring, that Genghis Khan's around, that Alexander the Great and Winston Churchill. So that means like you have Alexander the Great's war across Asia, trying to conquer all of it. You've got Genghis Khan's invasion of the same continent, and then you have
It was
Winston
overlapping. It was
Churchill,
happening
which
at the
means
same
World War
time. It's
II
fine.
is going on at the same exact time. So it's just like in his mind, the Golden Age is three giant wars are currently going on all over
Oh,
Earth.
all of these,
Yeah.
like, conflicts that he's read about throughout history are, like, happening in the same time, and he's just like, "Oh, that was a very busy point in Earth's history."
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and they're in space. Don't forget that.
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely. I believe I think, it's only until the end of the Golden Age when he assumes that, mankind has become like, post-space flight.
After all the wars end, they get
Oh, of
spaceships.
course, yeah, there has to be, like, this modicum of peace before people can get their asses off the off the ground.
From there, it's like, well, well, so this is where the spoilers for the series start to come in a little
Mhm.
bit. So if you haven't read the series and you've already listened to us talk about that part, get out,
Just
leave, turn,
leave,
push
leave.
the
The
button,
door's
turn
there.
this
The
off.
door's right there. You can come
Yeah.
back later.
hmm But I mean,
Mm,
yeah. So I guess at some point, right, the space comes into play. They start venturing out to the stars, and then there's a really big war that happens between Terminator style, the machines versus humanity, and it leads to what a lot of people in Sun Eater or who have read Sun Eater will remember as the Foundation War, and that's when like the real history of Sun Eater starts, right? Where they're not
mhm.
assuming things, right? This is where they have like better records and a better understanding and better timeline of what was going on, and basically they started using machines more and more and more, specifically those damn Americani, or uh and they basically have been using all these machines to do everything in AI, which uh it's like my nightmare. But
Mhm.
using AI to kind of get going. So the Foundation War goes off, and then basically humanity wins, right? They win, and then they decide like, oh, Earth and our surrounding area is kind of messed up. We need to get out of here. We need to
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah. So the fallout from the Foundation War was pretty great, what with humanity doing its best to wrest itself from these machine overlords. Essentially, what the history books have taught Hadrian and his people in his time are that the Americani, these machine lords, trapped the people of Earth in this cycle of never ending dreams. And they were, hell bent on enslaving every single human out in the galaxy. And there were some people who resisted, one of them being William of the House of Windsor. Yes, that Windsor, put a pin in that. He was able to unite the free peoples of Earth and help them defeat the Americani. By doing so, they had to nuke the hell out of the planet itself. So, their victory came at great, great, great personal cost. So at the end of the Foundation War, after the machines were crushed under heel, they realized, well, we can't precisely live on Earth anymore. It's no good for us. There's nothing here for us. So there started the series of migrations, which I'll get to. They're known as the peregrinations. But there was also this big revival of humanity to try and reclaim their lost history because they've lost what 2,000, 3,000 years under the
Mhm.
heel of the machines, and there that's a lot of time to lose for a species, for a civilization. And so they're trying to piece together the bits and bobs of what happened before the Foundation War. And that kind of leads to sort of a funny game of cultural telephone where I see Dupe smiling. It leads to a game of cultural telephone where you've got these people who are trying to piece together, what happened, and then you get these misconstruements of things that have been written or things that have been said, which is why we get sayings like Pandora's cat. If you get the
Pandora's Cat's a
context,
good
you
one.
understand where it comes from, but it's still
Yeah.
funny every time I see it come up.
It's always like, you know, Pandora's box. Schrodinger's cat was in a
Schrodinger's cat.
box. Same thing.
Therefore, and, it's also funny because certain texts, were seen as religious texts. So
Mhm.
you will see a few times The Lord of the Rings come up as a religious text in Sun Eater, which is just wonderful to me. I love every time that little nugget is just placed right there for me to appreciate. And the funniest thing for me is that someone found part of Yngwie Malmsteen's work. If you don't know who Yngwie Malmsteen is, just this amazing guitar prodigy, heavy metal rock legend. I love Yngwie so much. They found parts of his work and assumed he was a classical composer, which is which is why the national anthem of the Silent Empire is Yngwie Malmsteen's Far Beyond the Sun, which is so good.
Oh, I actually didn't know that. That's
You
awesome.
did not know that?
No.
Oh my god. Yeah, no,
Never really
Yngwie
paid
Malmsteen
attention
is
to the
like
whole I've seen the memes and people joking about it, but I was always just like, haha. I didn't really
yeah,
think about it at all that it was anything else, but that's interesting.
yeah, no, that's why the Emperor comes in
Yeah,
to
that's
the
funny.
the shrieking guitar of Far Beyond the Sun, because Yngwie Malmsteen has been, elevated to the likes of Beethoven and Bach,
Mhm.
which it's funny how these misconstruements and these misunderstandings lead to the actual history and the appreciation of culture in the Sun Eater universe. Just absolutely
Yeah.
fascinating stuff. Um But yeah, then the peregrinations, these migrations that I mentioned, the peregrinations kind of happened in a series of waves. There are these, mass evacuations that are happening going off of Earth. And depending on what ship you're on, immigrant humor, um, it kind of just set up where you ended up in the interstellar galaxy. At this point, during the Foundation War, technology got to a point where humanity was able to push further and further and further out into the galaxy. So the peregrinations were kind of setting people into new weird parts of the galaxy. And they were doing this in waves and kind of depending on what ship you were on. Like I said, set you up for what interstellar polity that, you and your descendants would end up um going, like the Solins, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, the Solons being influenced by like the British and Roman empires, like space Byzantines. A lot of the families from old Earth are taken right from history. So you've got like the Yamato, the Bourbons, which is funny. I remember telling you guys that I can trace my family lineage to a knight household that actually served the Bourbons, which is really funny to me.
Yeah, yeah, that was amazing when you told us. I was
Yeah.
so stoked.
So my far progenitor was the Knight Master of the Order or the Grand Master of the Order of the Bridge. He was the second Grand Master, and apparently at some point served the Bourbons, which is crazy. Or somebody else did, but same family lineage.
I'm
Uh,
friends with a knight. This is so cool.
yeah. And then Solons established a genetic caste system with gene therapies extending the lifespan of the elite to centuries. And then basically you've got normal humans, plebeians, patricians they receive some sort of genetic augmentation and surgeries to prolong their life, being born originally as plebeians, and then the Palatine caste, which is what Hadrian is and how they genetically alter their DNA and stuff from bat birth so that they live for hundreds and hundreds of years. They speak Galstani, which is it's like what a Hindi English
It
mix.
yeah, I don't even wanna say it's a patois because it's not. It is sort of this blending of Hindi and old I wanna say Middle English. Um,
Okay.
so it's called Galactic Standard because it's kind of
Yeah.
the lingua
What
franca
everyone
of the
speaks.
Sun Eater world. Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
shortened to Galstani.
Yep. And then you've got the Holy Terran Chantry who still guard Earth, which according to their religion, is a charred husk and will return to us when we have done the right thing. It's ruled by the Solid Empire is ruled by the House of Abent, descendants of the William Windsor, and they are allegedly the biggest interstellar polity that's currently out of the ones we've mentioned from the peregrinations.
Yep, yep. And I think the next one down the line are the Jodians. They're the ones who until a certain point, which we'll get to very soon, they're the only ones who can kind of contend or throw hands with the Solons. They consider themselves ethnic Persians, but they are a blend of Turks, Greeks, Italians, Middle Easterners, and a bunch of other, like a blend of Mediterranean peoples. They are former Solon citizens, but they kind of had their own personal pride because they were ethnically different than most Solons, and they were able to kind of break away from the empire by copying their own genetic therapies. So they're kind of doing their own thing, their own Jodian thing on the end of the galaxy. They
Hmm.
are practicing Zoroastrians, which I find extremely fascinating and very, very cool because in this day and age, our day and age, Zoroastrianism is considered an endangered religion. There are considerably very few people practicing it these days, but now we've got this entire interstellar interstellar like principality that is practicing Zoroastrianism, and I think it's just fascinating. And they have produced some of the best swordsmen in all the galaxy. I'll just lay it down. I'll say this. I'll make everyone else mad. The Maiskoloi are the best swordsmen in the galaxy. No competition. They will smoke you in a sword fight. Um,
Who's the competition?
surely not the Solins, no. They're too stuffy for that. Mm.
Who besides our main character? Like I haven't read a single character that I think could take my how do you say it?
Maiskoloi.
Myskoloy?
Mhm,
A Myskoloy in single combat. I don't know. I
mhm.
think maybe the Knight's Executor, but there's a B in there. You know what I'm talking
Executor.
about. Yeah, thank you. English, not my first language.
Honestly, same.
But yeah, better than me. But yeah, I don't even then I think we've read stuff from them that I would say they definitely I don't think they could take them.
Mm-mm. No, they're just the best at what they do. Then we've got some smaller communities out in the black. We've got, for instance, the Tavrosi, which are this very curious blend of Southeast Asian and Scandinavian, which you wouldn't think that those would like meld at all. You would think that those two cultures are very oil and water, but the Tavrosi make it happen. They kind of do their own thing out in the corner of the galaxy in this area called the Wisp. Um, and unlike most of the civilized galaxy at large, they they're not afraid of machines like everyone else is. They don't have the laws of the Terran Chantry to boss them around, and they're able to augment themselves. Not above like a it's not in extreme cases, but they are able to augment themselves with machines. They call it neural lace. Um,
Oh
and
yeah,
this has
yeah.
kind of come down to the belief that some people think that they're witches and warlocks and sorcerers, and, yeah, perfect for this
About
time
to
of year.
cover Toil and Trouble.
So, everyone believes that, the Tavrosi are up to no good. They've defiled their bodies with machines, they've done crimes against their own humanity, and they should not be trusted, and the Tavrosi are like, "Cool, we're just gonna keep doing our own thing in our corner of the galaxy. Have a good one, guys."
Yeah, I love Macbeth,
Mm.
so anytime I can sneak in a Macbeth reference, I'm going to.
Hey, I
Uh,
appreciate it, man. We got other polities like the Normans,
mhm.
the Durantines, the small kingdoms, but those are like little fish in this big pond where
Yeah,
the
those are the big
Solons.
players. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Tevrosi make up for their lack of size with their more expanded technology. That's why they are considered bigger, right? Because they don't have as much territory, but their technology is
No.
far advanced compared to what the Jedians and the Solons are like allowed to use.
Yeah. And then I won't mention them very much because they'll come up later down the line, but we've got the Lothrians too. Um
Oh yeah.
yeah, I just you we forgot about the Lothrians until they did the thing. But the
Well, they
Lothrians are
do the
another
thing.
polity. Yeah.
Mhm.
They are the second biggest polity, I believe, behind the Solons, and,
In terms of
I'm not gonna say
population.
yeah, in terms of population and size, I don't believe the size of their territories are quite as big as the ones that the Solon Empire takes up, but, it is sizable. Um, we won't say much about the Lothrians because, they do their own thing later on down the line.
Yeah. Well, then, yeah, thousands of years go on as they've migrated out, and they believe themselves to be the masters of the stars. They have no equal, right? They have seen other races, but nothing compares to what humanity is doing. A few technology, which is, a few creche is basically a hibernation chamber where they can go in and freeze and then they can stay there for years and extend their life. Even plebeians can live for hundreds of years because if they're serving on a ship in the Solid Empire, Jadian, they can freeze themselves basically and then be thawed for when they're needed. Yeah, for long stretches of space travel, obviously fugue, and then starships themselves become more efficient using exotic matter like adamant, which is what starship hulls are made out of, and then high matter, obviously, we just talked about the mascali,
Moi Now you're making me say it wrong. Myskaloi.
mascalloy, using high matter swords, which are super cool, and then they're used for starships and advanced blades. And then we get to, they believe themselves to be alone, as we all do,
Mhm.
and then something comes and smacks them right in the face. And that
Just a strong backhand to the face of reality, and
all of a
that
sudden they're
would
like, "Hey,
be
that's a moon. That's not a
that's
moon.
oh, that's not a moon, that's a Skionda. Yes.
Yeah,
Here come
world ship.
the only non-humans that have ever been able to throw a punch with humanity. The
Mhm.
Cielson. Oh boy, the Cielson. What about them? They are, as we've said, an alien species.
Mhm.
What makes them different from humanity is not just their physical differences, not their tall paleness, their milky white skin, their long, elongated limbs, their horned heads, their bone white hair, their big mouth of glassy fangs. What makes the Sealson different from humanity is that humanity tends to, as it's coasting out to other planets, they will build atop planets and colonize planets and terraform planets, just making the planets themselves, shaping them as humanity sees fit. Planets can't go anywhere, mostly. um, the Sealson do not build. The Sealson burrow. What they end up doing is that they take these massive pneumatized moons or little planetoids, and they pneumatize them, they hollow them out and turn them into these interstellar warrens and slap these massive continent-sized engines on the back of them and send them bopping through space. And it's kind of like a just think of it as like an interstellar Roomba because they'll just bop from planet to planet to planet. And they'll find a
Interstellar
nice
Room is
planet.
crazy.
Oh god, the horror, the horror. They will find a nice planet to stop at. You know, they'll pull out their tent stakes. They will make camp and get themselves cozy. And then they'll spend 10 or 20 years laying siege to said planet, killing who they can, carting off who they can, and eating who they can until the grass dries up and they pull up their tent stakes and head off to greener pastures, as it were. Humanity has started to see the Sielsen as these ravaging, raiding terrors, and it's hard to figure out where they're going because they don't stay still. You know, they're nomadic. They just keep moving from place to place, and it's hard to call for reinforcements when space is this big and the Sielsen can just pop out of nowhere. And so humanity
Mhm.
begins to see the Sielsen as this menace that can, like, drop down on them at any moment, and the Sielsen merely see humanity as vermin, as food. Um, Man, the Sealson are bad news.
Yeah, they're horrifying to think about. The
Mhm.
uh the culture, the way they see other sentient species, the way they see each other, their like family dynamic, quote unquote family. It's just such a clash with what we as human beings typically prescribe to. So it's just such a culture clash and a shock when you get your like little glimpses into their society and you're like, what are they doing?
Like, what goes on in that head? I
Yeah.
had actually a talk with a friend yesterday. I've been trying to get him into Sun Eater, and he's interested, but he needs a little more convincing, and I was happy to do
Mhm.
it. And I was, mentioning the Sealson and their anatomy and their lifestyle and the way they'll just kind of like, you know, shock a planet, then get out before reinforcements come. And he was trying to figure out like how the Cielson, like, how I was describing them, how they figured it out. He goes, "So you say that there's a hierarchy, there's one big boss, there's one prince, and then everyone underneath them are slaves." And I said, "Yeah, that's pretty much how it works." And he goes, "So is there like a hive mind mentality to these aliens?" And I said, "No." And he just
Mhm.
goes, "Well, is there like he was trying to figure out how a single individual could hold sway over an entire hive of millions, perhaps billions of Cielson from clan to
Yeah.
clan to clan to clan. And I won't mention it because it's a spoiler, but I was so proud of Christopher in that moment that he could just ditch these alien. Oh gosh, the caffeine isn't working. Oh no.
Like preconceived notions.
Preconceived notions, exactly. These preconceived notions of like what aliens are supposed to do and what they're supposed to be in science fiction, and that people are like left grasping for straws when it comes to ways of describing the Cielson. I was
Mhm.
so proud of him in that moment. I'm just like, oh man, well, you're just gonna have to read the book and find out. So that certainly made me happy.
Yeah, I mean, the CL Center are just so different compared to a lot of what we like. It's weird, right? The anatomy is similar, right? Bipedal,
Mhm.
human-like, 2 arms, 2 legs, and stuff. But they're so alien in the way they behave, like we were saying. It's
Mhm.
uh, it's very refreshing to read aliens that are just bad.
Yeah.
Like there's no redeeming quality, right? Like there's no like rug pull where they're like, oh look, they're the aliens, they like give them a reason for you to be like, oh, I understand where they're coming from. And as you read and kind of see little glimpses, you're like, mm-mm, mm-mm, alien bad.
Alien bad. And
Yeah.
it's critics of the series would like to go out saying that it's a fault of Christopher's for making the Cielson purely an antagonist species. when they're like, "Oh, this is just an excuse for anti-diversity in his work." There are plenty of aliens in Sun Eater who do not go around coasting around space eating people. This is Let's get
Mm-hmm.
that down. Let's get that right out of the way. Um, the Irktani, they're great. The Umand and the Kavarad, we don't know enough about them, but certainly they don't go around eating people. So I find
Mm-hmm.
that that argument of CL sin equals anti-diversity is, it just doesn't hold water.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I
tea in
agree
this case.
completely. Tea. Tea's back. Coffee better. Moving
Ah,
on.
we'll
Uh,
have this discussion later, man.
yeah, off camera, off camera. And then we have our hero, Hadrian Marlowe. He's born 400 years after first
This guy.
contact with the
This guy.
Cielcin. That guy. That guy. And
Himdrian.
then to House Marlowe of Delos. And they happen to be distant cousins of the imperial family, I believe on his mother's side.
Yes, yes. They married into the peerage through marriage with House Kephalos.
Mhm.
Hadrian's mother is daughter to the vicereine, which means that, she holds sway over that whole cluster of stars and answers to the emperor himself.
Yep. And then one of my favorite characters, uh, purely because of his history, Hadrian's father, Alistair, the Butcher of Lenon. Is that
Oh
how you
my
say that
god.
one?
Yeah, the Butcher of Linon, yeah.
That probably one of the coolest like little tidbits of history that you
Oh yeah.
get from Sun Eater. It's probably one of my favorite things. When I first read it, I was like, hell yeah, that guy's. I mean, he's a shitty dad, but we'll move on from there.
Oh, Alistair Marlowe's a terrible father.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
dude sucks as a dad,
yeah.
but
As a,
he's got a cool backstory.
sure, sure. Hadrian himself, I'm glad that he had better role models to look up to. Um,
Shout out Gibson.
Shout out to Tor Gibson. Round of applause for Tor Gibson. We love you, man. But Hadrian himself, because he hung out around a scholar for most of his childhood, is, let's put it plainly, a big ol' nerd. That boy is such a nerd. He
Nerd.
is a history buff and a lover of languages and a philosopher. He loves to gather wool. People often kind of think of him as kind of anachronism. He is very much an anachronism. You know that saying, born 10 years too early or 10 years too late? Uh,
Hmm.
Hadrian is like born 2000 years too early or 2000 years too late. He's kind of like a relic of this bygone era where, order and history and philosophy and a love of literature and he's based off of real people. The examples I'm thinking of are T.E. Lawrence. Yes, that T.E. Lawrence. Lord Byron, but he's also based off of plenty of fictional characters like Captain Harlock, uh, Titus Groan. I know that he was like inspired heavily by Mervyn Peake's Titus Groan of Gormenghast. You should read Gormenghast, by the way. It's a great book. It's actually kind of funny in its gothicness. It's like the ultimate gothic science fiction novel. Um,
I've got it on the
but
list. I have to start
oh,
it.
good, good. I'm glad everyone needs to read Gormenghast. It's like a more serious Adams Family. It's fantastic. But yeah, Hadrian's this big old anachronism, and he kind of goes around doing his Hadrian things, being as dramatic as possible, and people will call him out for it, saying, "Are you always this dramatic?" And he's like, "Ask
Ask
anyone who
anyone who
knows
knows
me."
me.
Yeah, it's like he's like, "Do you have to ask anymore?" Yes, I am always this dramatic, but we love him for it. And of course, that, love of learning, love of languages tends to get him into trouble, but that's kind of in the future for Hadrian.
Hmm. Yeah, and to point out also like Hadrian, this series is Hadrian wrote a memoir and testament to why he did what he did, right? And he starts at literally the very beginning, and it's also translated by somebody else who
Mhm.
found it, right? And as you read the series, there are time jumps and things like that where it goes forward, and the theories are that like, oh yeah, there's lost volumes out there of this translated work that people haven't read. So there's still more to the story, even if you finish the series. As time goes on, we'll probably get more and more. Uh, so this is again where he begins the tale, and then we as the reader don't know who he is or the depth of what he's done until that very first part where he starts to go into who he is and explain why he had to destroy his son and become the Sun Eater.
Yeah. Would you be okay if I read a little something from Empire of Silence?
Yeah, go for it.
So we have the opening right here, being the first part of the account of Hadrian Marlowe, called by some the Sun Eater, of the war between mankind and the Cielsen. And I believe it's like the first 3 or 4 paragraphs of Empire of Silence where he kind of just states for the fact, hey, Hadrian here. I blew up a sun. This is how it
Mhm.
happened. Um,
Hey.
but this is, for most people, this will be in their first example of Christopher's writing. And I think it's very tantamount to,
Mhm.
the kind of person Hadrian is, the florid way he writes. So give her a listen. Light. The light of that murdered sun still burns me. I see it through my eyelids, blazing out of history from that bloody day, hinting at fires indescribable. It's like something holy, as if it were the light of God's own heaven that burned the world and billions of lives with it. I carry that light always, scarred into the back of my mind. I make no excuses, no denials, no apologies for what I have done. I know what I am. The Scholiasts might start at the beginning, with our remote ancestors clawing their way out of old Earth system in their leaking vessels, those peregrines making their voyages to new and living worlds. But no, to do so would to take more volumes and ink than my hosts have left at my disposal, and even I, who has more time than any other, has no time for that. Should I chronicle the war then? Start with the alien Cielsen howling out of space in ships like castles of ice. You can find the war stories, read the death counts, the statistics. No context can make you understand the cost. Cities razed, planets burned, countless billions of our people ripped from their worlds to serve as meat and slaves for those pale monsters. Families old as empires ended in light and fire. The tales are numberless, and they're not enough. The Empire has its official version, one that ends in my execution, with Hadrian Marlowe hanged for all the worlds to see. I do not doubt that this tome will aught but collect dust in the archive where I have left it, one manuscript among billions at Colchis. Forgotten. Perhaps that is best. The worlds have had enough of tyrants, enough of murderers and genocides. But perhaps you will read on, tempted by the thought of reading the work of so great a monster as the one made in my image. You will not let me be forgotten because you want to know what it was like to stand aboard that impossible ship and rip the heart out of a star. You want to feel the heat of 2 civilizations burning and to meet the dragon, the devil that wears the name my father gave me. That's chapter 1 of the first book, y'all. What the hell? That's when I knew I was in for a
Heck.
ride. Hmm. So, you can definitely see how important language and history is to Hadrian because that's how he writes. And a lot of people kind of criticize this purple prose of Sun Eaters, and I feel that it makes what Hadrian's describing more important, because if he spends 20 pages describing how beautiful the silhouette of a planet is, it means that he cares about it.
Yeah.
And perhaps inevitably this planet or these people that he's met along the road, they're going to, become victims of the Cielsen, or time ever fleeting, as he says, is going to, wear down on us all. And he's very melancholic in a lot of his writings. Such a good introduction to a series, especially just for like a page 1. It's insane how good of a writer Christopher is.
Yeah,
Unreal.
it's a crazy first page to hear all of that and be like, what? What's happening? Like I gotta read more. I gotta figure out what this
Hmm.
is all about. It got
Hmm.
me. I told you on the last episode how I started reading and how I had to get kicked out of a bookshop.
I still
So,
can't believe that happened. That's incredible.
and time is a concept. I don't.
Mhm.
I'm often very early or kind of late for stuff, like I was today.
We won't tell anyone, it's okay.
You can leave it in. I don't,
No, it's
it's
fine, we'll edit this in
very
post.
on brand for me. I try to. It's a weird thing with my family. You're either like early or you're late. No one in my family is
I
on
think
time.
I think it's a Latino thing, man.
Yeah,
I'm always the person who's on time. My dad has never been on time a day in his life, God bless him.
fair.
But yeah. But, yes, that was kind of a primer into the world of
Hmm.
Sun Eater, sort of a zigzaggy. This is kind of like a fleshed out version of my own elevator pitch I give people. Um, it's just when I've got someone quartered in an elevator, like an actual elevator. Hey, do you want to hear about Sun Eater? And they're like, who is this person
Hmm.
and why are they talking to me about this science fiction series? So this is kind of like a fleshed out version of my own elevator pitch that I do for the series.
I actually had a funny moment at work the other day. We were at a fire and the news was there, and I kept
Mhm,
thinking to myself, I'm literally doing stuff. And
mhm.
afterwards, I'm sitting there watching the news camera, and I was like, if I can get on the camera, I'm going to mention Sun Eater. And then I was just sitting there and be like, I wonder if they'll come up to me and ask me questions about this. And then I just start talking about a book series. They didn't ask me. Uh,
The fact that you were like thinking that though is just peak doom.
I mean,
It's
I was sitting,
peak doom.
to be fair, we had just finished working on the roof. I was down on the ground enjoying a popsicle in the shade, uh, kind of just waiting with my crew and stuff. And I was just like looking at the camera, I'll be like, I could do it. I could get on camera and
I can
mention
make
Sunny.
this
I could
happen.
just walk up there and do it. And I was like, no, but that's incredibly unprofessional, and I don't want to do that.
If anyone hasn't picked it up at this point, Doom is an actual firefighter.
And if you couldn't tell based on how I pronounce words, there's a reason why. And Orion's a scientist.
Mhm.
Very we've talked about you being a paleontologist before, right?
Not on the podcast, no, but
There
yeah,
you
I
go.
am a paleontologist.
Spilled the
So,
beans, and I said it right. What's up?
hey, good for you, man. Yeah, I am a paleontologist, and I don't know, as a science brain kid, I find the science and the world building of Sun Eater fascinating. So that was one of the first factors that got me,
Hmm.
hooked on it. That got the text starting to percolate into my brain.
Yeah, I
So,
remember the speaking of like history and science and all that. I remember the first time I made the connection between uh like the Sid Arthur stuff. I thought I was the
yeah.
smartest dude in the world when I figured it out before he like spelled it out. I was like, wait a minute. And I kept saying it and I was like, oh my God, shout out Wolf on the Red
Oh,
Company Discord.
shout out Wolf.
Our Grom.
Yep. Our resident Siddharthurian knight. Yep.
But yeah, I remember making that connection. I was like, oh my God, I'm a genius.
Yep. Yep. That's another one of those like cultural telephone misconstrued pieces where you get the the name Siddhartha of the Siddhartha Buddha
Hmm.
and the mix of the Arthurian mythos of the Arthur legends and the old poem of El Cid, the medieval knight from Spain, and you got
Night of
this
the
like
Windmills.
yeah
Oh, wait, no, Don
no, that
Quixote.
is that's
Yeah,
Don Quixote.
yeah, I got it. I remembered. I fixed it.
Yeah, I script that out. But like this misconstrued mishmash of the Arthur legend and the poem of El Cid and Buddhism has turned into this martial religion. And it's kind of viewed unfavorably in the empire, and so a lot of soldiers are kind of they go underground with their faith. And someone who we're going to mention in the not too distant future is an adherent to this interstellar Zen militant faith, and it's like the coolest thing. But yeah, that's kind of where we are with this episode, my friends. This is the time where I'm going to shill the Patreon, shill the Discord,
Chill,
and
chill,
Christopher's
chill,
YouTube if you
chill.
haven't already subscribed or joined. And also, I believe, man, less than 3 weeks to the Shadows Upon Time gala. I am I'm excited. I'm like
Weeks?
rattlesnakey over this. It's so good. 3 weeks.
Oh, fuck. Oh, no.
Have
That's
you lost track of time?
crazy. I just told you, time is a construct that I do not
That's
prescribe to, so
that's fair.
I don't
That's
know.
fair.
I don't know what day today is. I know the time because it's on everything, but
No.
is
Spoilers, it's a Sunday.
thank you. I was gonna say it was Saturday. Thank you. Yep.
Mhm.
If you guys want to meet us and other members of the Red Company Discord, they will all be there. The obvious Arthur. Oh, hey, my cat's here. The author, other people with the series, other fans. It's going to be a great time. If you're thinking, can he be weirder in person? The answer is yes.
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 Yes, I can attest
Orion.
to this having I sure do. But yeah, it's going to be a great time. We would love to see you there. And if you have been hanging out with us for these 2 episodes and you haven't picked up Sun Eater yet, what the heck are you doing? Come on, this is us telling you to get on the ball, start reading the books, hang out with us, read along. And if you're a member of the Discord, I am hello, sweetheart. Hello, Alara. Yes, Doom did name his cat after a character from Sun Eater. Classy shit. But
Mhm. Mhm.
yes, we are going to be opening up ideas and suggestions for future podcast episodes after this. So, if you feel like you want your voice heard in this grand scheme of podcast things, please drop us a line over on the Discord and we're going to see where that heads, see where that happens. Um But that's it for me at the moment. Doom, any parting words?
I mean, yeah. If you want to tell us that we suck, join the Discord. If you want to give us ideas for what we should talk about, join the Discord. If you want to set up a date to fight me in real life, please don't join the Discord. Uh, because of
I
my gross
guarantee it's going to
pronunciation
be
of words.
it's going to be behind some Denny's. You don't want to do this. He's going
No,
to
it's
kick
in
your
the Denny's.
ass. It's
That's
in
how it
the
works.
Denny's.
In the Denny's.
Just
You
like
ever seen that
wailing
meme?
on top of
He's
someone
up
on the
next,
like
and they start fucking moshing in the Denny's. It's in Denny's.
ah, I need to see this. I need to
Or
see this.
Waffle
Please
House.
join the Discord so you can fight Doom. I need this for my own personal good.
I don't want to fight anyone who likes the series.
Yeah.
But if you
Maybe just
don't
as a
like the
status symbol.
series, we can have a debate and then a fist fight, and then you can win the debate, and maybe I can win the fist fight. I don't know. I like
I
Waffle
can't
House.
top
Nice
that.
crack at Waffle House.